Boom.
Boom, let's go.
So,
Let's get started.
my name's Jamal. People call me Jimmy. Also, I've been in the industry for 14 years. I've spent time in a lot of different industries, from MOD, financial, wealth management, up into recruitment, telesales, cleaning, security, entrepreneurial aspects as well, which I still do. However, I've been in the industry in the UAE for the past 10 years, Abu Dhabi and Dubai, with a focus on those and some of the major government developers is what I kind of, delve into. My passion is to strategically help a lot of investors and team members, people within the company and the organization, to help them grow and make sure we kind of, fall to a higher standard, so to speak. So that's me in a nutshell. Bilal?
So my name is Bilal Mazar. I run GCC Mortgages over here in the UAE. I also do real estate as well. So a combination of both services in one. Basically, I handle all the services under one roof, essentially. And yeah, so we've planned to discuss Dubai, UAE, real estate, and just market update, actually. So yeah, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So I'll start asking you questions first. if
Let's
you
do
don't
it.
mind.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's waffle.
What are the sort of trends you are seeing at the moment?
So I think a few things that we've discussed this week, a lot of the trends I've seen, I could number them, which would be Abu Dhabi, number one.
Yeah.
One of the big major trends is everyone is kind of taking a step into realizing the value behind Abu Dhabi, or shall I say Abu Dhabi? Abu Dhabi, yeah. So much so, even some of them are thinking of changing their names to begin with Abu, like Abu Jamal, myself. But no, essentially, a lot of people are seeing the value, right? The fundamentals, the supply and demand fix, the kind of infrastructure there, announcements, it all makes sense. So yeah, I'm seeing that as one of the major trends. A lot of people looking to kind of get there that haven't really been activated, haven't had action with, let's say, Modon, let's say Aldar. A lot of people are kind of looking to get activated a bit more into the kind of top government developers there. Other than that, we're seeing a lot of activation around commercial. I think we were even discussing, we were at the launch this week for Avenue, the one. So a lot of people are essentially comparing it to that of the IFC, right? So commercial, great mix, malls, top tier restaurants, retail, etc. Hits the nail on the head. Once again, supply and demand. It just makes sense. So that's one of the trends. So in a nutshell, that would be Abu Dhabi, seeing as one of the trends. Commercial, people delving into, even clientele that I know that have only focused on residential. We're talking buildings, short-term lets, EMAR, etc. And now looking at commercial, right? Third, your kind of industry, your niche would be the mortgage side of things. So obviously we've got buy-to-let mortgages in the UK. That isn't a thing out here. However, we're seeing it leaning towards that avenue, right? With some of the announcements that have been made this week. So in a nutshell, those would be the kind of top three trends I've seen. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think you answered all of it. Yeah.
Hit the nail on the head, right? Yeah, that's what I usually do.
Yeah, I mean, just going back on the three sort of market trends at the moment. First of all, Abu Dhabi, supply and demand, lack of supply in the market, a lot of demand, a lot of population growth happening over there, similar to the rate of Dubai actually, and not a lot of properties actually handing over compared to Dubai. So just purely based on numbers, Abu Dhabi is a great opportunity to get in. There's mainly a handful of developers that are actually developing in Abu Dhabi compared to Dubai.
Yeah.
I feel like when we get buyers over to Dubai and we're spoiled with choices, right? We have hundreds of different developers that we could take clients and they get confused, whereas Abu Dhabi is actually easier.
It is, yeah.
We take them to Mudan or we take them to Aldar, maybe Shoba, maybe a few other handful of developers, but we've got the main two.
Yeah.
And both of them have essentially better payment plans than majority of the developers in Dubai as well, right? And commercial as well, yeah. I'm finding a lot of investors moving on to commercial purely based on numbers as well. Um, 95% occupancy rates for commercial on average.
Yeah, yeah.
Even higher for grade A office spaces, nearly approaching 99%. So, yeah, I'm seeing the same trends that you're seeing as well.
I'd even go one further, actually. Another trend that we're seeing, right, is also these, I would say, B and C tier developers still kind of, throwing out, well, let's say commission increases, incentives, let's say same day commission, etc., payment within 48 hours, 1 week, etc. So that would be one thing. And even payment plans, flexibility. So we saw when the conflict began, kind of these payment plans and these incentives were starting to roll out. And we're still seeing, I would say we're seeing that more so with the B and C tier developers. Those who try my best not to speak down on anything, because essentially every developer's worth their grain of salt, right? Regardless of what anyone says about apartments, townhouses, villas, this developer, that developer. The supply and the population growth we're going to see, there's a demand for everything.
The beauty of Dubai is every developer fits a different type of client.
Thank you.
And that's why everything is being sold or is selling.
Absolutely.
So whether you only have a 20% down payment, there's a developer for you. Whether you have full cash payments, there's a developer for you. Regardless of what your profile is, if you think, off-plan is just purely just cash investment, no, there's payment plans. If you actually look into the payment plan, if it's a 50-50, look when handover is or how much is due on handover or some are post handover. There's so many different ways that you could structure different clients. So that's why when we do speak to the clients or our clients, we go into the numbers and actually how much they have. And if they're honest with us and tell us this is how much I have and in a year or two I will have X amount, we could structure it and we could tailor make their investment essentially, because we're spoiled with choices over here, let's be honest. And worst case scenario, we could utilize mortgages as well. A lot of international clients think they're not eligible for a mortgage, whereas they are. We just need to have that conversation.
What's the conversation? That's a really good kind of topic there, because you are one person, which is kind of, you're in your own niche lane, right?
Yeah.
I've not seen anyone, I don't know of anyone in the market who does mortgages, has a wealth of experience, let's say in major banks in the UK, has had a wealth of experience out here. You still collaborate, some of the top individuals or the top individuals at a lot of the banks in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in the UAE, essentially. So, you're privy to a lot of information before the rest of the market, and you're kind of solution orientated in terms of financial structuring, which is very, very niche in this industry and off plan. How do you see this looking right now? Like, we were speaking last week about buy-to-let mortgages. We were speaking about, you recently had a video as well with Dan, right?
Yeah.
And you touched on some of the aspects now that, what would you say? What's your stance on it now? Where do you see it going? What kind of solutions do you believe you could come up with for a lot of people?
So if you look at the market in Dubai at the moment, or let's say UAE as a whole, I would say 70% of transactions, or 60-40, 70-30 of transactions on average are cash purchases. So you're looking at, let's say 70%. 70% cash purchases, 30% mortgages. Around the world, you see it on the other side, right? The opposite. So you actually see 70-80% mortgages and 20%, let's say, cash purchases. In the UK, for example, it's like 95% mortgage and 5% of the market that are cash buyers. So in terms of growth, I see mortgages, there's so much potential of growth over here. So it could even double in the next coming years. So there is a big advantage. The issue is we're in let's say in the UAE, the culture is different. The culture is, I'll just purchase it with cash. However, having that conversation and opening extra doors, okay, you could purchase a property, for example, for 10 million dirhams. And you've purchased and you bought it all with your cash. And you have hardly any equity left because you've put all your money on a property.
Yeah.
What you can do is you could essentially purchase 20 million with 50% down. or even higher.
Yeah.
You could actually increase you could leverage bank's money and increase your portfolio essentially. Whereas I think in the recent months and in the recent years, that's what a lot of individuals are starting to learn. And that's why we are growing as an industry. The mortgage industry here is growing.
What type of individuals, sorry to cut you, what type of individuals would you say are learning this?
So, for example,
What demographic?
I would say Indians, okay, Indians and Arabs as well. So anyone from the GCC region,
Okay.
they've always been hard-headed, cash purchase.
Yeah.
Whereas the second biggest buyers in the UAE are British buyers,
That's what I was going to hear.
and they are actually one of the for example, top 10 buyers, okay, in the UAE. Number one is Indians. Number two is British. Essentially, if you look at last year, the year before, Indians number one and British number two. Okay, then you have loads of other nationalities, but let's just look at Indians and British as of now. If you look at mortgages, British is number one, and Indians are number two. But if you look at the numbers of actual off-plan or purchases, Indians are like 40% buyers in the market, and British clients are only, let's say, 15 to 18%.
Wow.
Okay, so Indian buyers are actually double the amount of British buyers. However, they're dominating in the mortgage side because of the culture. In the UK, we're used to mortgages. We're used to leveraging.
Yeah, that's right.
Whereas in the UAE, they're not used to it, or they don't have that culture to utilize debt. And
or what we call good debt, right?
Good debt.
Yeah, good debt. Yeah,
it's totally good debt. So I would say one of the biggest market that is going to grow in the coming years is the mortgage industry over here.
Yeah,
and also not only people actually utilizing mortgages, just the amount of products. Right now there's a handful of products that mortgage companies offer here. There's so many mortgage products. For example, like you said, the buy-to-let mortgage in the UK, which is nearly more than 60% of mortgages in the UK.
Usually, yeah.
Imagine that comes over here, and
change the game.
People try to investors utilize the buy-to-let to grow their portfolios.
Yeah,
that could not only grow the mortgage industry, it could grow also the real estate industry.
Yeah,
the real estate industry could essentially double just by having investors utilizing mortgages. Because what they can do is, rather than purchase something 100%, they can put 50% here, 50% here, leverage debt, and double their portfolio.
Yeah.
And majority of investors in the UAE are investors. They're not end users, okay, unless it's ready. We're looking at off-plan. Off-plan sales are 65 to 70% compared to ready units.
Ready units, yeah.
Which means the market is 70% investors, then 30% end users. So imagine they could start a new mortgage product comes into the market, buy to let, for example, and offers specific products, and the market will grow even further.
Strong on the data as well. Yeah, that's going to be a nice bite as well, man. That's strong on the data. So I think in a nutshell that makes sense. But what about the US? Because I know US in the UK, for example, we would always hear, well, if you ever watched anything to do with real estate, from anyone that's from the United States, they'd always talk about gearing, which for us in the UK is leveraging, right? Yeah. So gearing, etc. Are we seeing a lot of people from the US now look at that, or?
Yeah, so a lot of clients from the US or
Australia, etc. Yeah,
I think Australia is very. I've had a lot of clients from Australia all of a sudden popped out of nowhere, starting to invest, but also America as well. I think Americans have also just, despite the war or any issues that's happening in the region, we're having actual more investors from the US come into the UAE market. I think they're the top 10 now as well. I think they're sitting on the 10th of nationalities investing in the UAE.
Why is that? What's happening in Australia? What's happening in the US that you would say is influencing that? I think I've got a kind of inkling, but go on.
I would say things like real estate growth. Are they seeing much growth in their country? I would say taxes and things like this, but also we actually pegged to the dollar.
Yeah.
So when you do invest from the US or from US dollars to AED, it's pegged. So if you're making money or you're converting money, it's exactly the same amount that's always going back and forth.
Yeah.
So essentially, a lot of investors, they don't, or they time when they actually transfer money to the UAE because of the exchange rates, whereas in the US and the UAE, it's pegged, so it's always the same, and that's been the same for 30, 40 years now. So, and I don't think that's changing anytime soon. So, and also interest rates as well. Rates are much lower here compared to USA, compared to the UK, compared to India. So around the world, the rates here, or mortgage rates, are very competitive. So these are the reasons why I would say they're utilizing the UAE real estate market. And it's one of the only markets in the world that's growing. People say, UK is safe to invest in, and I don't want to invest in Dubai because, it's too much, up and down. London is nearly 50% below market price compared to.
It's a major difference.
We're going back 10 years.
Yeah.
That's in my terms, or in my perspective, London is more of a risky investment than UAE actually.
Yeah.
And I've invested in both, and
it's interesting.
And I've made more money here than I have in the UK.
This is interesting.
My ROI in the UK is 2 to 3%. My ROI here is 8% plus.
That's it. When you say ROI, rental yield, right?
Rental yield,
yeah.
So I've got investment in both, and it's exactly.
And I think that's
2-3% compared to 8% here. It's more than triple.
Literally, I think that's what we're seeing a lot with. I was speaking to an Australian colleague ex-client colleague of mine, and he was saying the similar thing. He was like, he's investing in Australia and he's trying to put a lot of his money out now because essentially all he's doing is focusing on gearing, hoping that his property value will go up. He can pull out some capital and then reinvest, etc., etc. And he's just like, the numbers don't make sense. When I showed him some of these numbers that we have here, he's just like, the numbers.
Just for example, the stamp duty. So in the UK, you are actually penalized. So the more properties you have, the more investment you make into the country, you're penalized. So, example, if a non-resident or an investor from outside the UK wants to invest in UK real estate market, you're penalized 2%. If it's your second property, you're penalized extra 5% in stamp duty. So that automatically, as a non-resident, as an investor who's invested in multiple properties and contributing to the UK economy, you're already taxed 7% extra than the normal person.
Crazy.
Whereas over here in the UK, in the UAE, if you've got one property, you've got two properties, you've got hundreds of properties. There's one fee, 4%.
That's it.
You're not penalized whether you are investing more into the country or it's your first time. There's no penalties at all. That's also why people are choosing to invest here compared to the UK.
I would say even to go on further, you're not penalised, you're kind of rewarded for it. So golden visas, etc., setups, business. So there's a lot more advantages to it.
Absolutely. And what we're seeing as well at the moment, and so I'm partnered up with someone in the UK who does mortgages as well. Right? So what we're doing is... Do you want
to give him a shout out or no? No, go on.
So what we're actually doing is, I would say not a lot of people are doing. So we're utilizing his contacts, my contacts, and we're kind of combining the UK and UAE sort of properties, mortgages, all in one roof. So what we're essentially doing is a lot of the big boy UK investors or people with, a large portfolio in the UK, what we're essentially doing is they're fed up. A lot of landlords are exiting the UK market. Just this year, there's an extra 2% income tax on just rental income. So that's coming into effect in I would say next year. So what people are doing now, or a lot of UK investors, what they're doing is very smart. And actually, this is what we're promoting. We are leveraging their property in the UK or their portfolio. Some of the investors have built portfolios in the last 10, 20, even 30 years, some clients. So what we're doing is we are taking equity out of the property in the UK, tax-free.
Tax-free,
And we are making them purchase off-plan property over here and then mortgaging it over here after, when it's ready, and then using it as an additional source of income, or we're using we're giving them higher ROIs, or we're giving them capital appreciation as well. So rather than them carry on and investing in the UK, we're getting them to come over here and start investing over here.
And they're growing their money essentially, right?
And
it's legal, right?
It's all totally legal. Taking debt out, okay, from a UK bank on their property, on their assets in the UK, tax-free. They're purchasing properties over here, off-plan properties, usually, depending on the developer, at a lower price per square foot compared to, of course, we're picking specific developers. We're not just going, invest here, X, Y, Z. And we're giving them a potential of capital appreciation, which in the UK you're hardly getting at the moment. And also, we're giving them higher ROIs. We're talking about 8%, 10%, 12%. But of course, the market average is around the 7 to 8%. Yeah. But that's still higher than the UK. So that's essentially what we're doing with a lot of our clients. That's our niche. That's what we're doing.
It makes sense.
So a lot of my clients, yes, they are British, and this is the sort of strategy we're doing.
Essentially, we're seeing a lot of change in the industry. People are having to show more value. When I say people, I mean RMs, I mean brokers, consultants. Everyone within our industry now is having to provide more value, essentially the value they should have been providing anyway, right? So do you think that a lot of people within the industry now are going to have to brush up on their skills, on their knowledge in terms of mortgage products, how they work, opportunities out there for people to leverage, etc.? Because I haven't really seen, actually, to be fair, I've seen a lot of them online now offer this type of value, right? And they're standing out more than ever. Do you think that's going to be a thing?
Initially I thought, yes, a lot of agents will be wiped out, or a lot of people in the industry is going to be wiped out, and there's going to be a big reset. But they're all back.
Essentially.
Everyone's back, and it feels busy. It feels more busier than ever. When we go to all these different developer launches and different events that we go to, it just feels more busier, and I feel like there's more agents or newer people to the market than ever. So going back to your question, they should be doing that anyway. Learning 100%. Learning the market, learning different products, and be open to different. Be open to learning, basically different. ROIs, what project's good, what project's not good. What areas up and coming. What's the initiatives for specific areas? Why this investment is good, not just it's a new launch and just sell it. Why it's good, why it's a good investment, what is the potential capital appreciation, what's the ROI for this, and what's the payment plan,
the numbers,
exit
right?
Strategy. People force people to just purchase, but a lot of the time there's no exit strategy. I've had a lot of people messaging me or calling me saying I need to sell my property because I only had 20%. And my agent has told me that I could flip it after 20%.
Typical.
And not a proper exit strategy in place. Whereas if you spoke to me, very clear on numbers, how much do you have, how much is coming into your account in the next year, 2, 3, 4 years, depending on the handover. We tailor the investment to that specific client, not just sell them anything. And if they only have 20%, and then don't worry, we're gonna flip your property in 6 months, and you're gonna double your money. Yes, it's happened in the past before, but I would never say that. When you invest in real estate, it's not something you invest in, for the short term. You should always, be prepared to stay in the investment for a couple of years. It's a long-term investment. It's not something that you could put your money in and pull the money out right away. It's a long-term investment.
Exactly. I think even just to add on to that value waffle, I'd even say a lot of people talk about exit strategies, but I think even we were speaking about the other day, right? A lot of these clients, I guess it comes down to qualification with some people in the industry, but they don't really have an entry strategy. So entry strategy sometimes, like for example, if it's a tier 1 developer, sometimes a podium unit is still good. There's still value in that. And it's speaking about what the entry strategy is on that podium unit. You might not have the, it might not be a high...
capital appreciation, it might be ROI.
Thank you. So entry strategy is important as well as exit strategy. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of weren't... Well, some of them, it's not their fault. I think it comes down to training. I think it comes down to, lack of honing in terms of their knowledge base, etc. Fundamentally, I think it comes down to also just the basics, man. In the UK, I remember I could not touch the phone until 2 weeks of training. So 2 weeks of training, I was only trained on qualification and registration.
And over here, as you come in, your first day is just
Yeah.
talking about what are you talking about?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And to me, it was kind of confusing. I remember going into companies and I'll see someone, fresh on the phone, and I would literally cringe at everything they would say. And then I'll be having to think about how can I advise this guy to say this and do this with this tone and, using just add value. Don't sound like the whole 100% of brokers out there, man. Be that literally that 1% different.
WhatsApp, just WhatsApp me.
Yeah, WhatsApp, yeah.
WhatsApp.
Can you send me a WhatsApp? Okay.
WhatsApp.
What am I sending you a WhatsApp with? What are we going to... Okay. But I think a lot of things have changed now, and I think the accountability is on people within the industry because it's 2026. We've got access. If people really want to develop themselves, you've got access to develop, right? You've got training programs, you've got YouTube, you've got data. Thank you.
You've got data to actually look into what's happening
Yeah.
in your area or your niche or what developer you're working with or what area. You've got all these data in multiple different platforms that you could utilize and just know your shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Know your shish.
Yeah.
Know your shish kebab, man.
Know your shit.
Know your shish. Yeah, you got to know your stuff. You have to know your stuff, man. And I think that's one thing that's I've seen. Like, what have you seen lacking in the industry in terms of from I would say a service led or
What do I see lacking in Dubai in general?
In general, in real estate, what do you think is lacking, and what would be a quick fix?
In my personal opinion, I think what you said is coming into the industry and try to sell a property. You're selling to investors that are spending millions or sometimes more hundreds of millions of dirham into real estate. Okay, this is not you're not selling a single product. You're selling an actual investment. I think the regulations need to be more tightened. You need to have proper qualifications. I feel like everyone's coming into the industry and selling real estate.
Exactly.
Real estate. Yeah. It needs to be much harder to get into because at the end of the day, compared to the UK, where solicitors do all the paperwork, over here, in the UK we call it estate agency.
Yeah.
Over here we call it real estate. Okay?
Yeah.
Which means we do everything from A to Z. So we do the contracts, we do all the legal work, we do all the legal paperwork, and you've got people that don't understand paperwork or legal work or contracts that are making contracts. We've got people that can't even read and write, for example, and writing these contracts. All they're doing is copy and pasting previous person's contact. And sometimes they're even getting names wrong and spelling and amounts wrong, or calculations wrong. I feel like there needs to be some sort of qualification in place in order to have a license, a brokerage license. I think it needs to be.
I mean, we've got the license there, but I think
license there, but I think it needs to be more.
Yeah, I see it going that way now.
I think it needs to be more regulated.
Yeah.
I feel like it is regulated, but it needs to be more for individual brokers.
Exactly.
Who could come into the industry?
Yeah, I think from my side as well, I'll see even down to developer RMs.
Yeah.
Them really zoning in and understanding their products before reaching out.
We see that. We go to different developer offices.
Yeah.
And for example, the top tier government developer, the majority of our businesses are with them.
Exactly.
You just see the different types of RMs there as well.
Yeah.
More on the ball, more numbers oriented, more proper investment consultant type of advisory that they provide compared to some developers you go to and it's just like, okay, this is the location, this is the price, and this is the payment plan, and completion is in 2028.
Yeah, commission is this, service charge we don't know yet, and this is the quality. It comes from here, comes from there, comes from
here's
who.
The brochure. You have here's a WhatsApp. Put your airdrop on. I'll send you the PDF.
Yeah, exactly.
There are some very good RMs out there.
Incredible RMs out there, man. Which.
But yeah, I just feel like. There's always room for improvement, even in the UK. There's room for improvement, but in general, it's a very healthy market. It's a good market.
Yeah.
And looking forward to see what's happening in the coming years because
Likewise,
it looks like
yeah.
everyone's relocating here.
Yeah, exactly. And likewise, man. I think there's a lot of shifts we're going to see. And just to add on the last point quickly, I think in terms of the RM side of things, this just like as a mortgage broker, as someone who owns a mortgage company as well, I think for us it makes a major difference because we actually know the ins and outs. We know the numbers.
Yeah.
We're not biased into selling a project because we have to hit our sales target, otherwise we don't get a salary. It's not about that. It's about creating a long-term relationship. It might sound like fluff, but then it's on us, right? Don't trust me. Just trust the numbers. Just trust the numbers. Let me, let's work together. Let's, focus and let me streamline things for you and show you how it can work. Forget about trust. The moment we try to build trust is the moment we look untrustworthy, right? So yeah, I think it's all about that really. But yeah.
Perfect. We'll leave that there then.
Let's not leave it there. Let's just waffle for a bit more because this is the weekly waffle. So what we're gonna do is, I think we'll put a flag in the sand.
I think our batteries are about to die.
The batteries might die. Batteries might even be dead. So yeah, thank you for joining the weekly waffle. It's been a pleasure. Once again, my name's Jamal, and this is
Bilal. Thank you so much.